To begin?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The amazing thing about this site is it's only one of 7 in all of Israel that they've uncovered a Second Temple period synagogue, meaning first century. Okay, this is mentioned in the writings of Josephus, not of the event of Christ coming here, but it talks about the events that occurred during the revolt against Rome, about a battle that occurred here. In a few moments, you could take a look. There's a paved street right over there, and you can see what looks like a wall of stone. But the wall of stone looks like pieces of pillars and pieces of buildings. This was a barricade that was made by the fighters in this town to stop the advance of the Roman cavalry coming down the street. Okay, so that's a sign of the revolt. Josephus will mention this place because he mentions that it's a fishing village and that many of the people who survived the onslaught of the Romans took off in the fishing boats, and then the Romans went after them. And there was kind of like a sea battle that occurred in the Sea of Galilee, and then he mentions that the next day the Sea of Galilee was crowded with the bloated bodies of the survivors. Not the survivors, obviously they're all dead, of the people who were fighting against them in Magdala. All right, now also earlier today when we saw the boat, the 2,000-year-old boat, it's a fishing boat that they found right off here. Who knows, it could have been one of the boats that was involved in that sea battle with the Romans in the year 70 AD. Now, the thing about this is that there are no levels of civilization. There's the city and then debris. That's it. There's a shopping mall over here. Recently they built a hotel, but the property in this area was owned by the Vatican. They started approaching with the mall, and then all of a sudden they needed to stop because they found things. They didn't necessarily find the synagogue, but they found artifacts. So therefore now they need to stop, and everything has to be investigated by the Israeli Ministry of Antiquities. So they determined that this is the continuation of the city of Magdala that occurred here 2,000 years ago. They stopped that. At some point, just before the Corona broke out, the Vatican also built here a hotel, and some of the hotel floor encases the artifacts that they found underneath. So all of this really belongs to the Vatican, to the Catholic Church. A number of years ago, they brought in a group of archaeologists, students and volunteers from the University of Veracruz, Mexico. And they were the ones, together with the Ministry of Antiquities, that started doing excavations here. And it was easy to uncover everything because there was just rubble and the remains of the village that was underneath it. No levels of civilization. And that was remarkable. And that's when we uncovered the synagogue, or the Beit Knesset. So it's one of 7 synagogues that they found from the Second Temple period. Not all of them are accessible, but now this one is. So therefore, when we talk about and we read that Jesus goes about Galilee and teaches in all the synagogues, this is a building that he literally walked into. This is a 1st century, Second Temple period synagogue. Now also in this area, they found here the remains of a residential area and also ritual baths. You'll take a look at them. The ritual baths were very important. By the way, when you see them, it looks as though they were used already last week. Perfect condition. Of course, what saved it was the debris on top of it for 2,000 years. 7 steps going down. There were underground channels which connected a lot of the buildings to a water supply from the Sea of Galilee. So they had like underground plumbing, if you would, and the ritual baths were filled. 7 steps going down. We'll take a look at them later on. But the remarkable thing also is this dais. This is a copy of the dais. The original dais is in the hotel lobby. But if you take a look here, there's a number of things that are very, very important. If you recall, I spoke to you about the menorah being the symbol of Judaism, okay? But that was, a little bit later. It could be even after the destruction of the temple. But while the temple was still standing, it could be that someone from this village or from the area saw the 7-branch menorah at the temple. And this is the first time ever that we find a menorah carved on stone. This is the first menorah from that period of time carved on stone. This is the earliest carving of a menorah in the land of Israel, right here. From this point on, it kind of spread out to become a symbol, but somebody must have seen the menorah at the temple in Jerusalem and carved it up here. So that's, there are two jars on both sides, but that's probably the oldest menorah carved on stone found ever in the land of Israel, right here. Okay, now there's other rosette designs that you can see on top over here, which were very common with the Herodian period, because, during the time of Herod, although he may not have been the most religious person in the world, but he needed to abide by Jewish law. I mean, he is the king of the Jews, all right? He wouldn't do anything against the faith. So whenever they had, let's say, plastering on the walls, all right, or they had mosaic floors or something, it would be very, very plain. Either they'll show you jars or a menorah or this rosette design over here, but not human form, okay? And we'll see some of that inside this Beit Knesset right behind me. Okay? Now, also, if you ever get a chance to see a widow's mite is actually like a penny back in the day. Okay? It was called a pruta in Hebrew. It was a penny's worth. But for many people, that was worth a lot of money. When you get up in a few moments, you take a look right over here. This is the emblem that's on that coin. It's right here carved on the stone. So this stone is very, very important. All right? It's a copy. It's a very good copy. But the original is inside the lobby of that hotel that you see over there. Okay? So far, does anybody have any questions? Yes?
You said there was a tower here.
You need to look in the distance. Perhaps if we pass by on the bus, there's a basalt tower in that direction over there. Okay, you know what, since the group moved away, take a look. You can see that somebody physically built a barrier right there to stop the entryway of the Roman soldiers. And there's a paved street just on the other side of that barrier. Okay, also they put up a sign saying no entrance, that kept the Romans out. Okay, all right, yes?
Is this an ongoing dig or they're done?
They are still digging. They continue digging now across the street. Across the street, because don't forget, this road that's outside right now was not here 2,000 years ago. So that's just the continuation of this village. Also, they found here another synagogue. 3 years after they found this, they found another one. Not as good condition as this one is, but they found another one. All right? Yes?
We're going to talk about Mary in a few minutes.
We're going to talk about Mary now.
Now, good.
Okay.